Hello everyone, and welcome back to a new soft-spoken video. I hope you're all doing really well, and thank you for tuning in. I hope you will join me with a hot drink. I'm having Earl Grey tea with a splash of oat milk. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna mainly hold it for the warmth because it's really cold right now in my flat. But yeah, so we're here to discuss the movies that I've watched in January. So this is my January Letterboxd review. January was a great month. It was a cinema heavy month. I went to the cinema 5 times. 5 times, and I've watched 8 movies. So 5 out of 8 were cinema experience. All very different experiences, and I'm gonna get into it. But yeah, without further ado, let's get right into it. So the first film I watched in January was Nosferatu. I think it came out on New Year's Day, which is kind of crazy. I did not watch it on New Year's Day. I watched it on the 8th. This is the latest Robert Eggers film. I think that this is his first. Let me think. I think this was his first sort of adaptation or like remake of, not an original IP essentially. Although I guess you could argue The Witch is like a folklore story, and so I guess it's the Northman, but like the story itself is original. But anyway, it was absolutely incredible. I think I'm pretty positive Eggers is now just, he has solidified himself as one of my favorite directors. This is a gorgeous gothic tale that apparently is a ripoff of Dracula. Like, I never realized, I'm not gonna lie, I have seen Dracula kind of adaptations here and there in my life, but like I actually don't know the story of Dracula, front to back. And I've never read the book. So I didn't know that Nosferatu was a copy of Dracula. I always thought it was its own thing. Of course, the original is from the 1930s, if I'm not mistaken, and then they made another version in the 70s, and this, of course, came out this year. And there are plenty of Dracula adaptations. This was just wonderful. The way Eggers write dialogue. Again, I think I said it before about The Witch, but I don't know how historically accurate the dialogue is, but it does make you feel so immersed in that world. I mean, I'm sure it's not accurate because Nosferatu is set in Germany and the actors are speaking in English with a British accent, so regardless, it really immerses you. And just his use of light and contrast and darkness. It's a very dark film, of course, because it's a gothic story. The atmosphere is just so gripping. It's not a scary movie, of course, but it's very, like, I don't know, it gave me the chills here and there. Some imageries are quite spooky. She's incredible. Lily Rose Depp, absolutely incredible. I've never seen her in a leading role. I've never seen The Idol because, I don't know, I wasn't sold on the, I guess, drama surrounding it, which is a really bad reason not to watch a show. But she was incredible. Like, she really, she was extremely believable in everything she did and she said. And yeah, I don't have anything but good things to say. The only negative was, I guess, my viewing experience. I went to a popular cinema chain because that's the time and the day my boyfriend could go and see Nosferatu. And there was a group of teenagers behind us, and they first of all talked. They chatted all the way through the movie. Um, but they also were laughing a lot. And of course, this is a film that touches on lust and infatuation, attraction, but also on the opposite end, like prudeness, is that a word? The purity culture and the culture of being closed off and not exploring your own sexual feelings. And so there's I'm so sorry. So there is a fair bit of moaning, um, because there are some, because it makes sense. Also because there are some exorcist-esque scenes, and yeah, the teenagers couldn't handle the moaning and the faces that Lily Rose Depp was pulling, and they found it really funny, which I guess it makes sense. If you approach it, if you don't lean into it, it's gonna be cringe. But the way any gothic story would be cringe if you don't lean into the aesthetic and the dialogue and the time period and the, you know. Anyway, so Nosferatu was incredible, 5 stars. After Nosferatu, I had to watch the only other Eggers film that I had never watched at that point, which was The Lighthouse. The Lighthouse was a 4.5 for me. I couldn't just give it 5 because it is the, first of all, it is the most artistic, artsy, weird, experimental, cerebral film out of all of Eggers' filmography, which is not that extended, but And so it was, I mean, it was incredible. It was so cool. It was so, when a film uses certain techniques like black and white or a different aspect ratio, and sometimes like it's just for the sake of looking artsy and different and experimental. The film is in black and white and in a different aspect ratio for a reason, for an intent. Like you can see that it was a well thought out idea. It wasn't just some random, I don't know, quirk to throw in there. So yeah, it is very weird and cerebral and slow and just a bit of a lot. So although overall it was incredible, an incredible experience, it was also a bit of it's a very tormented and tormenting film. It's not a chill film. Not that any of the Eggers film are chill, but anyway, The Lighthouse is again about repression, identity, as in like being, yeah, knowing who you are within yourself, but also within the world, like your role in the world. And yeah, there's also still a lot of like lust and sexual repression and the sea and mermaids and storms and a lighthouse. It's incredible. But yeah, because it's not necessarily the most entertaining or like fun experience, that's why I give it a 4.5 instead of a 5. Yeah. So the next film I watched was Nickel Boys. I went to cinema with a friend, and I'm so glad that the trailer did not give away. Sorry, just checking that I'm recording the audio. I'm so glad that the trailer did not give away, the best shots or like the most artistic shots, because I hate when trailers do that, of course. But yeah, this was an incredible real story of a black kid in the 60s in Florida. So when Jim Crow laws were in place, and his name is Elwood, and he's destined to great things because he's really good at school. He actually gets a tuition to go to college, so everything is looking bride for him, but he accidentally hitchhikes on, well, he's hitchhiking, and so he gets a lift from a guy that is driving a stolen car. And so he gets convicted as the accomplice to this guy. And because he's underage, he gets sent to a reform school, which is called the Nickel Academy, which really resembles, while watching it, it reminded me of the Paris Hilton memoir. If you don't know, Paris Hilton went through those wilderness camps, those camps for like tough kids, or like, you know, naughty kids, misbehaving kids, whatever you want to call it, which are, allegedly place where you would get disciplined and like live in nature and appreciate what you have and appreciate what your parents gave you, and I don't know, become more compliant also. Turns out there are places of abuse in every sense of the word, and yeah, some kids have died in these wilderness camps, and that's actually what happens in at the Nickel Academy. It is sold like a reform school where kids are gonna come out the other way, better citizens, but actually kids are abused again in every sense of the word, and sometimes they are so abused that they kill themselves or they die, and they are just like brushed under the carpet and under the rug, and the parents are told that kids ran away or something, and yeah, so really horrible place. And Elwood meets a friend, I forgot his name, Turner. And so the film kind of follows both Elwood and Turner. The film is mainly filmed in a first person perspective. So again, we start off with Elwood, but then we also get the POV of Turner. And yeah, it's a really beautiful film about the friendship bond that they form. Of course, the resilience of these kids, going through Nickel Academy in general, but also, again, Jim Crow era. So even within the academy, of course, the whites are divided from the blacks, and the segregation and everything. Yeah, a really intense film, but so beautiful to look at. Like the shots, there are so many close-up shots that are so poetic and just wonderful. And then the movie does a really cool thing, because it is maybe don't listen to this part if you don't want to have any spoilers of any kind, but because it is a real story, it starts at one point going back and forth between the real Elwood, and that is alive now. So it's like it goes back and forth between present Elwood, but real Elwood, and Elwood actor in the academy. And also at the end, it did a very cool thing. I hate when real stories, movies that are based on real stories, I hate when they end with a black screen and text that said, and then Elwood went on to marry so and so, and they bought a house, and they sued Nickel Academy. I hate that. But no, the film again keeps mixing even more back and forth, the real time and the news that have come out in recent years about the academy, and images from the film. So that was really cool. I hope it will win prizes. Have the Oscars already? Have we already had the Oscars? Oh my god, I'm so stupid. No, of course. They will be in March. I think Nickel Boys will win a lot of prizes. Okay, next I watched a film that a lot of people did not like. Here is by the same director as Forrest Gump and Back to the Future and Robert Zemeckis. So I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was absolutely wonderful. There's only one minor flaw that I will discuss. Um, this is a very experimental film. It's you only get the POV of a living room through time. So at times it even bounces back to like the creation of Earth and like dinosaurs and then the natives, the native people. This is set in the States, in where is it set? New England. And then it bounces back and forth between, I don't know, the 40s, the 50s, the whatever, the 1900s. You have different characters that you follow along, but you mainly follow Tom Hanks and his family, which I think we start following them in the, I want to say in the 60s. Yeah, I want to say in the 60s, and then we keep following them through time. I guess, yeah, Tom Hanks is the main character, he's the protagonist. And yeah, so it is very weird because, as I said, the camera never moves until the very, very end. And it is very much a play. Like the way the set is set up and the costumes and everything, it's very much in your face of the time they're trying to portray, almost a caricature of the time, which again I don't mind in the context of a theater play or stage play. And my only, I guess, the only thing that I didn't really love is how waxy everybody looks. Plus, you know, at one point when we meet Tom Hanks, he's supposed to be at school, so he's supposed to be a teenager, and so you can see that they have de-aged him, like digitally. But apart from these minor aesthetic flaws, I thought it was a movie with so much heart. It's just a movie about life in the simplest sense of the word, as in how our life is so intertwined with the people that came before us and the decisions they made. How important it is to be true to yourself. How big changes in your life, you know, you can, how you have to react to those big changes in your life. You can give up or you can like keep moving forward. Yeah, it's just like the most pure exploration of what it means to be alive. And I thought it was wonderful. I know a lot of people thought it was a joke, and that it was too sugary, too in Italian we would say mieloso, like that is full of honey, you know. I didn't feel like that. I thought it was just like so pure, and I shed a tear or two at the end. So yeah, go watch Here if you haven't heard about it. So if you don't have any preconcepts about it. Okay. Next, I watched two documentaries back to back that are connected. So I'm gonna just talk about it together. The first is Boy State, and the second is Girl State. I think my boyfriend and I found them on Prime. I'm pretty positive. It just sounded really interesting, and so we just watched them back to back. So basically, Boy State is set in Texas, and then Girl State is set in, where is it set? In Missouri. I think every state, or I'm not going to say every state, but apparently some states in the US each year launch this camp, and it's basically a camp where 1,000, well, in boys camp boy, and 1,000 girls in girls camp get together and essentially are challenged to form a government from the ground up. So it's more complicated than, well, it's very complicated because there's a lot of elements to it. They get divided into cities, and then they have to elect, just like in the real world, they have to elect their representatives, and then the representatives have to vote for the next person in charge. I don't even know the the US government system that well, but they also have to decide for the what are they called? Um, the House of wait. Oh yeah, they also have to elect people for the Supreme Court justice. Um, so yeah, they really have to like form like a real state from the ground up. And the cool thing is that there are two opposite sides, but they're not called Republicans and Democrats. They're called, I can't remember, but you know, it's like it's all hypothetical, it's all neutral, but they do discuss real issues like abortion and, you know, they touch on real policies, immigration, and just real life topics and issues. And so, especially in the not in the background, but when they're not actively doing the workshops and things, they do discuss their own political views. So you have kids that are more like conservative and kids that are more liberal and things like that. And it's just really fascinating. It was so, so cool. I first of all, I can't believe that a thing like this exists. I think it's amazing for kids to learn about um, the government system and how politics work and stuff. But also, it's so interesting how it pulls out the worst of politics and how, you know, manipulative some of these kids get, and how yeah, how they backstab each other. And I don't know, it's just really, really fascinating. And then you can also see how clearly some more charismatic people emerge more than the less charismatic people, because that's just the way it is, you know. You will, more people will listen to you if you will know what words to use. And so then, yeah, you have people that have strong messages, but weak execution of said message, or a weak way to take out that message. Um, so yeah, super fascinating. And then of course with Girl State, of course gender politics are brought in massively. There's a lot of, it seems even within the two camps, there's a lot of unfairness. Girls are policed way more. For example, on their dress code, they have to go around with buddies. But yeah, the it's just very interesting. But also, Girl State was way more earnest and pure. Yeah, the boys at time were like, again, I hate talking about, you know, gender stereotypes this way, but the boys at time were so boisterous that it made me think, why are you here? I thought the nerdiest people ever are here, you know, because these 1,000 kids get selected out of so many more. So you even have to do an interview and everything to be accepted to this camp. So I thought everybody's going to be so nerdy and so into politics and just like, but they are also teenagers. So of course they're going to be like, whatever. So great documentaries, go and watch them. Next we move on to Wicked. I am so happy I went to watch it. I mentioned before on the channel that I have been obsessed with the soundtrack. And so going to watch it finally, I knew all the songs. I knew everything, and I felt so like immersed into it. It was amazing. Yes, it's not the perfect film. Yes, it is desaturated. Whatever, the songs are great and everybody's so good in it and sells you this fantasy. So I loved it. I loved it. Funny story about the viewing experience. I went in. Yeah, the film has been out forever. I went on the 22nd of January. And yeah, I went in and it was just me and another woman in the cinema room. Are they called rooms? Oh my god. Anyway, it was just me and this other woman, and I thought, great, it's just the two of us, cool. And then two families appear. In both cases, it was a father with kids. Now, first of all, they start off completely silent, and I'm like, thank you, Jesus. Then one of the fathers starts to snore so loudly, I kid you not, so loudly. And I'm like, okay, fuck my life. And then somehow they decide to leave. And I'm like, okay, cool. Less people in the room. Fantastic. Then the other family, they just start chatting just very loudly, which at first I'm like, fair, if you want to comment on the film. But then they pull out a phone, and I can hear sound from the phone, and I'm just like, what are you doing? Why don't you just leave as well? And so I keep turning, and they are looking at me, and I'm giving them like the look. And then somehow they also leave, and the dad is so apologetic. He goes like, I'm sorry. Like, he apologizes to me for making noise. But that was great, because then at the end it was just me and the woman. Oh, that's cool. It was just me and the woman, and we just enjoyed the rest of the film. It's quite long, to be honest. But yeah, so much fun. I can't wait to see the actual Wicked play in the West End. Hopefully soon. Hopefully soon. And yeah, so Wicked gets 5 stars because I had so much fun. It was great. And lastly, I watched The Brutalist. 3.5 hours of pure cinema. Just pure cinematic perfection. Just just incredible. Just like a film. Like a film with a capital F. Just everything felt so real. I can't believe that this is not a story of a real architect. But yeah, in case you don't know, The Brutalist follows Laszlo. He's a well-established architect that had to escape post-war Europe. He lived through a concentration camp. So he escapes to the States, to America, to rebuild his life from the ground up. He carries a lot of trauma, of course, and he has also left behind his wife and niece back in Budapest. So yeah, this felt like a biographical film. Like, I can't believe that Laszlo, what's his name? Laszlo Toth. I can't believe he's not a real brutalist architect that actually existed. Um, just incredible performance from Adrian Brody and everybody else. So realistic, so just so beautiful. All the sets were beautiful. The first shot when they arrived to America with like the distorted or like the upside down Statue of Liberty, just such a powerful image about dreams and trying to Laszlo gets to the States with the hope of rebuilding and readjusting his life. He doesn't know that he still has lots to go through. But yeah, so then long story short, he befriends a wealthy man that commissions him a sort of multi-use space, I guess, a center that would be a library, a gymnasium, a church, and a couple other things, I think. And yeah, then eventually his family joins him. It's just a very long film that follows a very long story, so it just makes sense. At no point I felt that it was dragging. My only complaint is that, and that's why I gave it 4.5 instead of 5. For being such a long movie, I feel like at the end we wrapped it up a bit too fast. All of a sudden we're like old Laszlo, and I don't know. I wasn't sold on that, because we took so long really exploring this guy's life, this guy's new life in America, and yeah, I thought it was just a bit too rushed. There is an intermission which I loved. It was so perfect, and it was built into the film. Why doesn't everybody does it? I think it's great. I think it's amazing. Yeah, so The Brutalist was absolutely an incredible cinematic experience that I would encourage anybody to watch. Yeah, it's also a type of story that you can like apart from the intermission, you can also just like chop it up and watch it in parts. You don't have to watch it all in one go. And yeah, so those were all the films I watched in the month of January. Really, really good month. Not a single movie that I did not like. Let me know what you watched last month in January, or what you're looking forward to watch in the next few months. I never say this, but don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and also hit the notification bell so you will get notified when I upload next. I upload every Tuesday and Friday, usually. I've been a bit bad at it lately. And yeah, check out also my playlist, my film talks playlist. And yeah, I'll see you very soon. Bye bye.